Welcome to my virtual campfire. I am here for a second time with Terrell Rogers, and we had such an awesome conversation before. We decided to kind of expand on it. We're going to talk about time travel and parallel universes. Terrell, you have some things in your mind. I want to hear everything that you have that you want to share.
So besides time travel and dreams, which I also get into, I wanted to follow up on with the 9/11. History Channel did a time travel episode, and then 9/11 was brought up, and it had me thinking about the videos. There was a report that said that Donald Rumsfeld met with I don't know if he met with a time traveler, but they said that Rumsfeld had received photos. It didn't hit me until like recently, like because we've been trying to figure out for years if the 9/11 videos were edited, like how did they do all that in one day? Because even that has like drove me crazy because my because a lot of people have different theories. I don't believe the news reporters had anything to do with 9/11. That I don't believe. But I do believe that the videos did have some alterations in them, especially the way the planes looked out of place and everything. Um, and a lot of synchronizations of videos that was happening that day. The planes just look way out of place.
One thing that I noticed about the video on 9/11 is I think I mentioned I was working in a live booth
Yeah.
during so every morning we would have live feeds that would come in from New York. The scenes were always kind of the same, like wide shots
Yeah.
of the city. First red flag I saw was before the planes hit. When I got into the booth, it was a close up shot of the Twin Towers. And it wasn't like a shot we would use on the news. And part of my job was to aesthetically use like nice looking shots. So I specifically asked our master control to call the New York station and ask if they could change the shot. Then a couple seconds later, the planes hit.
Yeah.
But it's very strange that they were shooting that shot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that anyone in the media knew what was going to happen, because I agree with you. I don't think anyone knew, but somehow that camera, which was probably a robotic camera somewhere on, fixed onto something in New York, outside of a station or whatever. But that was a major red flag, and it's something that I don't forget.
CNN actually did a report on this. The guy was being interviewed on CNN. The guy said the same thing me and you said. He doesn't believe the reporters were in on it. He told the CNN reporter he doesn't believe the reporter and CNN was in on it. I'm the same way. I don't believe the reporters or even the organizations themselves were altering this stuff. They're if anything, they're the victims in all this.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just stuff we just comprehend. I think Tom Shelby might have played a role in this. Maybe they actually had videos, because if there was any truth about Rumsfeld being sent photos, who's not to say that they sent them videos and then they used those videos? I never believed they were planes. I believe they were missiles, and you could clearly see like the missile in a lot of nowadays videos. That's why they don't show them as often, because you can actually clearly see it's a missile disguised as a plane.
You were there in New York on that day,
Yeah.
and you said it didn't sound like a plane.
I never believed it was a plane, was because the sound of the explosion. Then turned the TV on as I got home. First tower was on fire. That's what we heard. And then the smoke is going over our neighborhood of Bedford-Stuyvesant. Second explosion was like really loud. Like I would find it hard to believe if a plane were to hit the Twin Towers, ain't no way the explosion would be that loud. Something like a missile or an intercontinental ballistic missile, yeah, that would be a loud enough explosion. Us as New Yorkers, we're used to planes flying because LaGuardia Airport and JFK. LaGuardia is not that far from me, so I can see the landing pads on the planes like lowering. Ain't none of them have that high pitched sound that 9/11 had. And you have some people who saying they saw planes. I think those people were just caught in the moment. They thought they saw a plane, but they really saw a missile with fake wings.
When you see something happen so fast and it isn't something that your mind can even give vocabulary to, it takes a long time to kind of reach into your subconscious and pull out what you saw, what you actually saw.
That does make me very uncomfortable. Like living in New York City, experiencing it, my favorite spot being destroyed, and then knowing that we just been told this lie all this time and everything.
I do think that like Hollywood has, I don't know, some sort of maybe insight into things. The Back to the Future movie, I don't know if you remember where
Yeah,
he's like,
they-
oh, let's go to 2020. And he's like,
yeah,
do not, whatever you do, go to 2020. Sometimes I think these things are so coincidental that it can't be a coincidence.
future. The Simpsons, because the Simpsons are famous for it too. Which I'm actually
Simpsons
getting.
too.
I'm gonna get into the Simpsons in a minute. I'll start with Back to the Future first, because basically Back to the Future 2, where they actually go into the future. So Marty, I think he hit like a, what was it, a pine tree or something? Because when he left, it was like twin pines, and then when he came back, it's a single pine because we have a, now it's a single building in New York, and then there was an issue about Marty's future television. The twin towers are going like upside down or whatever, symbolizing like, oh, they're falling. And then the Simpsons one. Now the Simpsons one, I actually remember that episode as a kid, which is so crazy. I just remember it, but it was before 9/11, but I remember it. Never understood the joke, like why Bart was doing that. He had the magazine said 9/11 with Twin Towers, flashing money. I remember that as a kid. I was like, it goes over your head because you're a kid. But then when you look back on it, I was like, oh, stop. I remember that as a kid. Why is okay? Hollywood, subliminals, and everything. And then even with the dollar bills, because that's why they changed the dollar bills. When you fold it a certain way, you can see the Twin Towers and the Pentagon burning on the $20 bills and stuff. And a cousin showed me that in person the year after, which was 2002. She actually did the fold and showed it to us, and they changed the currencies as a result because of that and everything.
A lot of people have psychic abilities. Think about like, if you can see the future. I mean, there's a lot of times in my life I've personally had a feeling about something, and then that feeling came like to fruition, good or bad. And I've a lot of times I think I can feel things. I don't know that I can necessarily predict things, because time is in my mind, it doesn't go linearly like how we think of time. And it kind of bends and warps. And so when I think of something in the future, I can't tell how far in the future it is. I can't tell if it's tomorrow or if it's in 10 years.
Right.
And I think of someone like Nostradamus, who predicted all these things like really, really far in the future. And perhaps there are people who have psychic abilities who are channeling that to make these movies, say, or and maybe it's almost not even conscious that they're doing it. They're just writing a script. I know a lot of times when I write things down, I'm channeling it, and then I'll read it later, even a couple years later, 10 years later, and I'm like, I wrote that? I don't even remember writing it. So clearly it's not coming from the forefront of my mind. It's coming from something else or somewhere else. Perhaps it's from another time frame.
Yeah.
So I think with regards to time travel, at least in my mind, time exists, but it doesn't exist the way we think it exists.
Like time is different on Earth and in the universe. Like it's different. It's my theory. We don't know when the exact shift happened. Some think the shift happened on 9/11. I'm not gonna rule that out because 9/11 just felt out of place. We both agree on that. Just felt really out of place. Life has changed drastically since 9/11. I'm talking about technology and everything for the worse. And then some people think the timeline shifts happened in 2016. Some think, this is just my theory too. I think the time shift happened. That's why the world did not end. The world didn't end. The timeline got altered. I think the timeline shift happened on December 21st, 2012.
In our lifetime, and in this last century, because it goes beyond my lifetime, but in this last century, we've had these shifts and they keep increasing. And I believe, I feel like we're shifting consistently now, collectively, in like waves. And not everyone's always on board in all the waves. But I do think that the shifts have been happening at a more frequent rate in the last like 20 years specifically. And I think they'll just continue to happen too.
I don't think this is just coincidences. I think that's what they're like. They're giving us information here about these parallel realities that we just haven't had the chance to like visit or see. Like, cause I've always wondered about that too. Like, what if 9/11 didn't happen? Did something worse happen? Or it's like with JFK. There was theories about the parallel universe where JFK was not assassinated and the U.S. just went more downhill. Like, and there's another theory where it's like the U.S. just got better. But there's like so many, like the multiverse, which I do believe in, is so massive. There's so many parallel Earths and everything, so many different outcomes. We can't rule none of it out. I mean, I would love the time travel. I've had time travel dreams. Like I've had dreams where me and time travelers went back to try to stop 9/11. I had a dream where we failed to stop 9/11. We actually stopped 9/11 and it still happened. It happened on a sunset. Like, and I remember being mad. I remember being mad in the dream, talking to a woman. She was like, maybe it was meant to be. Like, it was a dream turned into a nightmare. Like 9/11 happened on a sunset, like literally on a sunset. Those type of dreams get you like mad. Like, it's maybe sometimes it's Twilight Zone did an episode on that too. The guy tried to time travel and then he ended up causing something that was supposed to happen.
When we're talking about dreaming, uh, like lucid dreaming. So you start dreaming about something and then you try to create the outcome. I think that if we collectively can start lucid dreaming about the best future that we can imagine, then I think we can merge into that timeline where it's like the most beautiful planet, the most beautiful outcome of the future. Um, because we do create our reality, and it's kind of does start with dreams.
I do believe that some dreams, not all of them, because some of those dreams are dreams. I do believe that there are some dreams, those are parallel realities. Like, and I remember one dream, and it really hit me. I had this dream. I was in my old apartment building, but it was a parallel universe. I could see the Empire State Building and the Washington Monument. Like, what the heck is Empire? Like, looking back, I was like, wait, Washington Monument, Empire State Building in the same city. So is this an altered? Is this a parallel New York, or was I living in a parallel Washington D.C.? So, and then I actually like felt the wall in my dream. Like that's like that drove me crazy. I was like, oh snap. So I was probably in my parallel conscience. That's why I actually felt it. And then when I woke up, oh, back in this reality. Like I do believe some dreams are parallel universes. That's why they feel. That's why some dreams feel real, and there's some dreams where, oh yeah, that's just a dream. Um, what's your like thoughts on that? Do you also believe that some dreams are parallel universes, or they're just like dreams?
I think sometimes dreams are messages from the future to kind of maybe give us a warning about something or to prepare us. Like a really good example is my oldest daughter is in college, and she lives in an apartment. And she said for a few weeks she was having a dream that she woke up and there was like a scary man standing over her, like, and it was like it was freaking her out. Like she had the dream a few times. And we had gone to Hawaii like on a family trip, and she kind of mentioned this dream, and I was like, that's weird. But I didn't think too much of it. I just thought, she's in a new place, and that sort of thing. Well, shortly after we got back, her apartment got broken into, and the person had climbed up through the fire escape into her apartment. She had closed her door. She was sleeping. Her and her roommates were sleeping. And he had gone and taken things from their apartment and didn't open up either of the other two girls' doors, but her door when she woke up was open. And it like freaked her out because she was like it's like she knew that this was going to happen. I mean, luckily he didn't do anything, but it was the reality of the fact that she had seen that in her dream, and I feel like it was warning her.
Some police organizations, they work with psychics, like because that's what started, like the police connections with psychics and everything. Because there were some cases where they was able to find the criminal, missing people. Unsolved Mysteries did an episode in that where the guy was having dreams. He didn't even know the woman, but in his dream, it was pinpointing the location of where the missing woman was at, found alive and everything. She had got lost in the forest, and they found her in the location where the guy was dreaming of where she was at. Did not know each other, and it's like it it really has you like thinking, like what you were saying, psychic connections and everything, like because technically, like, we're all connected.
Think like, even just talking about these things, it makes me think that we should be learning from it, like, because it was really, I was really happy that Sophia shared that with me, about like the dream that she had been having, and then knowing that that event happened. um it's a reminder to be conscious of our subconscious, because the light's getting too bright.
Yeah.
The shadows are not as big as they used to be, and I know that's like speaking metaphorically, but I really believe it. I do think that the light workers like you and me and other artists and people, even musicians, are bringing this stuff to light, and saying, hey, like, we don't want this anymore on Earth. Like, you go to, I don't know, Pluto or something. I don't
Right.
know where it is, but not here.
Yeah, because it's like with the UFO disclosure. We've always wanted that for years, and I'm glad we're getting UFO disclosure. My thing is, we both know that most people in the public um are not gonna be able to be receptive, like, to it and everything.
Yeah, it's happening slowly, because uh like I was saying, when you see something um that you don't have vocabulary for, it takes a while to process that. But imagine if you're someone on Earth that's never seen that, and then they're saying that, oh, well, these things exist, but you've never seen it.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of denial about that, because they haven't witnessed it.
When they disclose extraterrestrials, that's gonna be the big one. That's gonna be the big one. That's the one I'm really concerned about. How people are gonna see, people like me. You're gonna be calm about it. Then I say I don't. See, now that's where it's like, oh,
Looking forward to the time when there's a recorded interaction between a human and an extraterrestrial, like fully recorded. There's going to be someone who's an ambassador. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, and I think it's going to happen soon.
yeah.
Like I said, time is
I
weird.
just hope we don't get the hostile, like, cause
Yeah,
we see it already. Like, there's gonna be some fools out there. It's gonna be like, oh, that's fine and all, but you're not, like, we got fools out here, and that's what I'm concerned about. Like, more likely, more advanced than us anyway, so they would brush that off. But then it's like, what if that caused them to be our enemies or not? Because, like, at the end of the day, there's friendly ETs and there's hostile ETs. Like, unfortunately, there are hostile ETs out there, and we really have to, like, this is why disclosure is so important and everything. Like, because we really need to be prepared for this. Like, and that's the problem with most people. They're so busy on TikTok and everything. It's like nobody, like, I'm not gonna say nobody. Most people in this case, they're not educating their brains right now.
there are ways that we can spiritually protect ourselves from the hostile ETs. On the flip side, I feel like we can call in the energies that we want. And that's why I think there'll be some sort of ambassador. And I don't know, or a liaison, or some sort of bridge that is able to communicate in a peaceful way with extraterrestrials. And I think, and most people believe that's definitely done telepathically.
People, it's like, if you take the internet away, they will go crazy. Like, and right now they're not people are afraid to get this knowledge because they feel like they're gonna go crazy, which to me it feels like a protection. Like when you eliminate your brain, it's a protection. That's how I always viewed it. And it's like and that's why, it's like with my circle. That's why my circle is so small. Like I just this is just there's some people out there, it's like, nope, this is not for me. This is not a protection. I need to be around people like me and you that are like healers, scientifically educated, artistically educated. Like I have to be around that because I can't be around anybody that's not looking out for people's safety and all that. And there's different forms of safety. There's spiritual safety, physical safety, emotional safety. I have to be around people that's like me and you, that's like just synced on that level of like frequency, like synchronization.
I feel like on a personal level, my circle keeps getting smaller and smaller. And it's not like, and I'm not saying like I'm a hermit or anything, because I definitely travel and I have people that are very close to me that I really love. And but I don't just go to like random parties anymore that I get invited to, a friend of a friend, or things like that, where unless it's something that really sparks an interest in me, I'm just I'm passing it by.
Where I attended some art events and it was just a toxic like environment. It's like drunk people, racist people, just toxic. And I'm like, why am I wasting my time here when I could have been somewhere else and
Yeah,
everything.
like you could have been creating something or doing something wonderful when you're just like witnessing all this like bullshit.
There's a lot. I see when it comes to art, I'm not about competition. I'm about equality. But
Yep.
most artists in New York City, all they care about is competition. Like I don't. That's not attractive to me. Like
Mhm.
attractive to me is being equal, spiritual, like uplifting each other and everything. Like that's attractive.
Was there anything else that you wanted to that you had in your mind that you wanted to kind of get out there, or
Yeah.
just
Well, especially for the people that's like watching, like don't be afraid to be yourself. You see that in me and you. Like
Mhm.
don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, it's never good to prejudge. Always understand somebody's situation and everything. Like we all have different lifestyles. Don't be quick to hit that judgment because it's not good to judge, period. Like get to know the person. Like communication is very important. If you're unsure about something, do what I always do. Talk to the person. Like talk to the person because you don't want to like talk to somebody else and then the person doesn't even know, and then the other person that you're talking about doesn't even know what the heck is going on. Like,
Mhm.
and then now they're in the situation feeling all sad and everything because they thought everything was going okay. Talk to. I know some people are afraid to talk, but that's part of communication. Like you got to talk to the person if you're unsure about something or unsure about a thing or a situation. It helps communication. It helps a lot. It saves a lot of heartaches and everything. Like find a friend that you can actually like spiritually connect with. Because that's the best connection. Like besides fun and activities, you want to make sure you find somebody you can spiritually connect with. That's the most important one. Like fun and everything, like that comes and goes. But you want to make sure you have a friend that you can spiritually connect with because that's everlasting. That friendship will never end. Just be yourself. Like if somebody's judging you, then they're not for you. Don't be
Yeah.
stressing out over it. They're just not for you. There's gonna be somebody out there that's gonna be appreciative of you at the end of the day.
Even I'm gonna say, even if it's like, say someone that you think you should have a connection with, like maybe a family member or someone close to you that you've known for a really long time, but you're realizing that it's always a fight, like everything is
Yeah.
confrontational. Maybe that's time to, make your circle a little smaller.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard to say no. Like
Yeah.
I know, like I'm kind of a people pleaser. I want to say yes, but that is one thing that I've started to just be a little more aware of, is that it's okay if I want to say no.
Yeah. And
Like that is okay.
see, I had to remind myself that not everybody has a support in family. Like
Hmm.
there is no perfect family at the end of the day. But then I also have to remind myself not everybody has like the same support system like I do. There's some people that don't have supports in the family or even their relatives, so they'll have to go to a friend and everything. So sometimes we can't always say, talk to family because they may not have that type of support system in the family. So people have to be mindful of that
Exactly.
too as well.
Yeah. But if you say no, it means you have time to say yes to something that's positive. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So like it's not negative to say no because it gives you the time to do something more positive than what that would have been. So yeah.
Just so it's basically like to make it like simple for the viewers, like watching, go to the person that you know that will make sure that you don't fall.
Yes, Terrell, thank you so much for taking the time to have another
Welcome.
conversation.
Thank you.
And I hope that you have a really awesome day. I hope that your dreams are equally as awesome and your art continues to grow. And yeah, I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I definitely looking forward to being a guest on here again. Because there's definitely gonna be some more topics coming, especially what's going on right now with
Oh yeah.
changes social media and everything. So that we'll
Yep,
definitely be doing another like podcast show for this one too on different topics. So
for sure. Really grateful for your time and all your thoughts.
you're welcome, and thank you again as well. And I definitely look forward to being on here again in the future.
Yeah, more to come.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Crystal.
All right. See you,
Yeah,
Terrell.
definitely.